good day, everyone. I am Harry, your moderator for this webinar on the behalf of the organizer company called Conference Panel. I welcome everyone for today's webinar, which is called Texting and Email with Patient HIPAA and Access Preferences for the Patients. So now I would like to introduce our presenter for today, everybody, Sherlin, and his another name is Jim Pedia. Most of the people call him because he's expert. He is well known for HIPAA. That's why people call him Jim Pedia. So let's come with the bio. Jim Sheldon is the founder and director of compliance services and Levis Crick System LLC, a Vermont-based consulting firm founded in 1982, providing information privacy and security regulatory compliance services to a wide variety of healthcare entities. He is a frequent speaker regarding HIPAA.
Okay, all right, thank you very much, and welcome everybody to today's session, looking at the issues of texting and emailing with your patients. There are some rules under HIPAA as to how you're allowed to communicate. So our agenda is we're going to be looking at handling patient communications in general, and in specific how email and texting can work for communications with your patients under the HIPAA regulations, and what are some of the considerations. So what we're talking about today is the HIPAA Privacy and Security Rules. That's sort of the core of when people talk about HIPAA these days. I mean, there's a lot we can learn from the breach notification rule. So what are we allowed to do? Okay, actually we have other HIPAA considerations to look at here. We have, and organizations have discovered they've used insecure communications involving PHI. Now when it comes to communication with your patients, you got to be flexible. You want to provide and encourage using some kind of a secure solution for communications. Yes. So, really what we're talking about here is the whole problem with email and texting is they are inherently insecure. So there's plenty of issues with plain texting, okay? There are some plain, good old-fashioned point-to-point encrypted communications channels, things like Telegram, WickerMe, and Signal. So what we're talking about is, like I say, it's a secure communications platform. We have the Telephone Consumer Protection Act of 1991. Now, when it comes to marketing, if you're looking at communicating with people on their cell phones, okay, by texting and email, but these are basically communications for healthcare purposes. So, can you text appointment reminders? Here is, we've got a couple of slides here on to kind of sort out this whole issue. Can you maybe texting appointment reminders? So how do you handle texting with patients? Also keep in mind when you're looking at email, okay, whether that's a smartphone or some other device, or text and email-based marketing to patients is the designated record set. So when it comes to individual access, you have to have a process for the individual to request access for free. They're allowed to steer people to your portal. The access and individual preferences, the idea is, in the sections that we're talking about, 164.5. So when we're talking about these risks, there's also been some, we'll talk about some of the proposed changes. There's a federal court ruling about releases of third parties. Now, in the 2016 guidance, basically, like I say, most of what's in the 2016 guidance, it's going to be. So when it comes to providing and denying access, provide it in the form or format requested if it's readily producible. So when it comes to fees, this is applicable only to release to the individual. You cannot withhold access for non-payment of fees for services, but you can require payment for copies in advance. In other words, so when it comes to timeliness of providing access, you have to make sure. Telemedicine, this is something that may be involving portable devices, quite obviously. You don't have to use a HIPAA-compliant telemedicine platform. And there's a similar situation for vaccination scheduling. So when it comes to insecure communications, you need to make sure you have the proper policy in place. Portable technology policy, obviously, for dealing with texting and email, or security and incident policies, and don't call it a breach until you determine it's a breach, okay? Helps to have something like a table. You say, well, do you have a violation of the privacy rule, yes or no? And what is this compromise, okay? When you look at, risk of compromise they talk about, according to NIST, now past breaches, you're talking about good guys or bad guys. So what can we do about breaches? Hackers affect the most individuals. Now what about HIPAA audits? There are HIPAA audits that could happen, the High-Tech Act in Section 134.11. And what happened in 2012? Is you can look and see that a couple of things you can see that pretty easily is that small covered entities. Here's the questions that have been asked in the prior audits. This is some useful information to run through. When it comes to the HIPAA penalties, if you've done your homework and tried very hard to avoid problems, that could be a tier 1 thing. Could start at $114, and you may be able to use an affirmative defense. Say, hey, we did our best pages, and you can see what kind of information blocking penalties have been going on since this started in September of 2019. Learn from the guidance you will get from HHS. If they tell you to do something differently, it's a good idea to pay attention to what they say, right? So, getting all the way into this year, we have, 2-year delay in providing PHI. Reflect what you're actually doing, what the rules are, what the guidance is. Where do you start? You find out what people are doing already. Your to-do list is don't be denial. Make sure that you understand what the rules are. Willful neglect costs way more than compliance. Okay, so don't ignore the rule. All right, well, thank you very much, everybody, for listening today. I know that, there's a lot of things we've covered. There's lots of details in here. But you do need to be aware of these issues because communications are growing all the time, and there's more need for communications and coordination. So make sure you're doing it the right way so you can help avoid getting into trouble and provide the best service for your patients. So again, thanks for listening, and please enjoy the remainder of your day.